Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablin.
Hello, and welcome to episode 89 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This episode of the QCMP is sponsored by Midwood Guitar Studio, Charlotte, North Carolina's own boutique guitar shop located in Plaza Midwood. Midwood Guitar Studio not only has the finest selection in boutique guitars, but familiar names like Fender, Martin, Taylor, Two Rock, and many others. Whether it's a guitar, bass, amp, effects pedal, or a much-needed accessory, the knowledgeable and friendly staff at Midwood Guitar Studio will help guide you in the right direction for your next purchase. And Midwood Guitar Studio also has a luthier on staff for all your repair needs. Visit their website at midwoodguitarstudio.com or stop in to see their unique shop at 1517 Central Avenue, Charlotte, North Carolina. By the way, if you have a business and would like to become a sponsor of the podcast like our friends at Midwood Guitar Studio, drop me a line at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com and I'll discuss all the information with you. Also, if you enjoy the podcast and want to find out more about me, stop by MatthewAblin.com. There you'll find links to my events calendar, performance groups, the latest podcast episodes, and a host of other information. This month on episode 89 of the QCMP, I'm speaking with cover artist Philip Funderburk, who has been on the Charlotte music scene for close to a decade. He can be found tickling the ivories as soloist and now as a dueling pianist. Philip Funderburk, welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Matthew, for bringing me in here. This is a nice setup you got here. I like this.
Thanks,
nice
man.
Little home studio.
Thanks for reaching out, man. This is great to get you on. I've seen you around the Charlotte area playing, and we don't really know each other, so it's nice to sit down and get to know you a bit.
Yeah.
All right, man. So, what brings you to the Charlotte area? Are you originally from our town, or no?
I am originally a South Carolina boy.
Oh, yeah?
Born and raised. I was born in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And
Spartanburg, all right.
Moved around mostly across the upstate of South Carolina. Found myself, prior to moving into the Charlotte area, I was in the Columbia, South Carolina area for a year or so. Okay. And then 2010, I moved up to the Gastonia area and spent, I guess it was about 13 years or so before I'd left, moved away for a little while. And when I came back, now find myself in Concord, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So been all around the Charlotte area, playing the music scene, lots of lovely places. I really enjoy it.
So how long have you been playing in the Charlotte area?
So I started in 2016.
Oh, wow, okay.
A really good friend of mine named Ronnie, he's a guitarist, and we got together. I'll back up a little bit, and I'll tell more details about this when we talk about my backstory and how I got to this point. But you go out hanging with friends, sing karaoke for fun. I wasn't really doing anything with music for a while. Had burnout, just kind of took time off and wasn't really doing any projects or anything like that. But you can only sing karaoke in a few places before people pick up on, hey, this guy's a pretty good singer over here. You know, I got a friend that's looking for something.
Yeah.
So Ronnie comes up to me one day and says, hey, man, we got a band we're putting together, and we're really looking for somebody that can sing, and I hear you play keys. I said, yeah, I do. So I asked him what he's got going on, and he told me, and I met with the fellas, and we got together, and we played a few gigs together. Long story short, that collection of band members had broken apart, and it came down to me and Ronnie. He's like, well, would you like to just continue as a duo? I said, absolutely, let's do it, man. This is a lot of fun. So we carried on as a duo for about a year. Eventually we picked up a drummer and picked up a bass player. We went through a couple drummers and one other bass player, and then the final iteration of that band in 2023 was just the best collection of musicians that I've ever played with in a gig. They were really talented guys. The drummer, Chris Jobs, shout out to Chris. He's over there in Gastonia. He's got his recording studio, CMJ. He's recording for a lot of talented people. I think he's even had a voice contestant on there come in the studio to do some vocals. Yeah. And Robbie, he's a bass player. I always introduced him as formerly from playing with Ted Nugent, because he was with a band and they played some type of festival out of state, and the celebrity guest at that festival was Ted Nugent, and all the musicians were on stage and they got to play with him. He came up there to do a couple songs, and so but he gets around a lot about it. He's got a lot of fun stories from traveling the West Coast for years. And yeah, I really enjoy playing with these guys. And at the time I had kicked up a little solo work. That would have been 22, maybe 21 or 22.
Okay.
Started doing a few solo gigs, just a lounge gig here or there. Kind of experimenting a little bit. I can go a little bit more into that story later, but I'd seen some guys doing some things that got the gears turning, and I was thinking, I think I could put something together that could sound really good with this on the keys also. Because a lot of these solo musicians, I see them with guitars, and that's pretty cool. I've only seen one or two with the keys, but let me see what I can do with it. So I put together a little act, and I've developed it over the past 3 or 4 years, and it's turned into something that I really love doing now. It's really kicked up this year. This year I set as a goal for myself to book as many original venues to me, places I've never been or maybe never even heard of.
Right.
And started playing. Made a lot of friendships, a lot of connections, some awesome venue owners and managers out there that I love working with. And I've even crossed paths with some other talented musicians. So I've really enjoyed getting to know the Charlotte scene and looking forward to everything that has to come.
It's a great scene. There's a lot of awesome people wandering around in our city, plus not to mention talent here. Let's just back up a little bit, man. So you're a pianist, singer. What's your music background? Did you start singing first? Did you get into piano? Fill us in.
So I remember, I have some really cool memories, and I enjoyed when you mentioned this to me. I was thinking back and remembering some stories that I'd forgotten about for a long time. So my dad was a pianist. I grew up a preacher's kid. So my dad, he retired in 2010 from over 40 some years of pastoral work. And I remember, so everybody in my family were singers. He was, my parents both sang, my parents. I remember seeing my grandparents in church sing. Just really consider myself to be fortunate to have won the music lottery because I have a lot of steeped heritage in music, and it's in the blood, man. I remember, well, probably farther back than I can remember, they had me holding a microphone in church and standing up and singing to the congregation, and I can't remember any songs, but I was just a kid learning, and by the time I was, let's see, my dad started giving me piano lessons, and he went to the music store and he bought these books. And I don't know if you remember these books that you could go to a music store, and I can't remember the publishing company, but they would have these kind of elongated books. So you could open them up and they would sit on a piano stand. Mm-hmm. And it would start out with the finger numberings, from your thumb to pinky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Like an Alfred's method or something like that.
Yeah, and you would start playing that. And then it would introduce note values. So you would have the finger numberings, and you'd have the note values and the quarter notes and eighth notes. And then it would start putting them on a staff, and you fill out a little worksheet and you memorize your music staff and the lines and spaces, and then start into chords. But I seem to remember the music books. My dad was really intuitive about this, so he started writing the dates on those books, and they might still have them in their house.
Oh, really?
Somewhere. The earliest dates I remember seeing, and I had to go back one day and scour through there and look, but I remember seeing 89 or 90. So I would have been about 8 years old when I started.
What were the dates for? Were they when you took the lesson, or when you learned that page?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he dated it by initiating that lesson or completing it, but he put the date on there for when I was in that lesson, that particular lesson. So I remember that, and hopefully if I get him to listen to this, he'll take me in there and see if we can find those books if they still have them. But so I'm 7, 8 years old, and he started me on piano lessons, and man, I'm so glad that he did that, because if I was any older as a teenager, how teenagers can be, maybe a little unmotivated or uninteresting, now this is pre-social media. So now you got to get them off the phone if you want to teach them a cool skill. Or maybe they see a YouTube video that'll spark their interest. But, I remember seeing that and doing that as a kid. And I made it to, I want to say about 12 years old. And I was into chords and triads. I was into playing polyphonic. So you've got a book out, and since we were in church, we would take a church hymnal, and the hymnals are written in a 4-part harmony.
Sure,
most of them it's like a choir: soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and they're in. There's not a whole lot of improvisations between the lines, but if you read them, they're written in like 4-part chords, and so it really kind of gets you used to looking at the patterns of the chords. And I started playing that and sight reading, and I did pretty well with it. But like a lot of kids, when you get to a certain point as a teenager, you kind of have a lazy streak or unmotivation and I don't want to practice. I hate practicing, yada, yada. Kids can be a little stubborn with that sometimes. But, now as an adult, I wish that I had pushed myself so much harder because I could maybe have learned a whole lot more. But I remember doing that. My dad turned me over to a piano teacher, very, very talented lady. I can't remember her name, but by the time I was 12 or 13, he took me over there once a week to her house to take piano lessons. And she thought it would be a great idea to grab a church hymnal and maybe start me out on a few hymns that I know to learn to sight read on the piano and play. And that worked good to start out with, but what she didn't really take into account was that I had such a strong ear knowing these songs. If I got to a part where I knew how it sounded and I knew chord progressions, right, and I was kind of cheating on the page a little bit, and if I wasn't hitting the exact notes, I would just sort of chord it out and then drop back into the sheet music.
Okay.
She knew exactly what I was doing. She would stop me. She's like, okay, now you need to learn to read these notes. You need to practice playing the notes that are on the page. It came to a point where I think she spoke to my dad one day after a lesson and told him, he's really got a strong ear, but it's sort of, it's kind of cheating him out of the learning experience here. And he needs to work more on the music. And so my dad approached me about that, and he said, now son, I'm not going to keep paying for these lessons if you're not going to learn. And at this point I was like, I just don't want to learn to read like that. I was just being a lazy kid. And he's like, okay. I think my dad probably, he might have had the disappointment of, well, my son's not really going to be a really good, or a pianist. He's just not really going to take interest in this, and just sort of left that off to the side. But what he didn't know, throughout my teen years, I would still pick up because I was really good at chording. Mm-hmm. So I was good at playing. If I hear a song on the radio or something in school that we listened to, and I would chord it out and I would play. And one day, fast forward to 18 years old maybe, so this would have been late 90s, a friend of mine in our church was like, we should do this song together. I was like, okay, what's the song? And we sat down and we practiced. I was like, well, I can play this out. So I played on the keys. Okay. And we got together and we learned our parts, just a 2-part harmony for it. And then I came up to my dad and I asked him, I said, we'd like to sing this song one Sunday. He said, okay, I'll let you sing. He had no idea that I was going to play any instruments. Okay. And so we got up to sing and we did it. It went off great. It was a great song. The congregation applauded. They really enjoyed it. And I remember like it was yesterday, Dad got up the podium and he was looking over at me and he was just kind of like, wow, that was really good. I didn't know he could do that, on the piano. And, from that point forward, I was called upon a lot to play more, and I would end up going into, directing music and working for my dad for, several years before I took a staff role at another church. But yeah, I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate to have a good upbringing in music, a musical family, and to have some roots planted in the early years, when your brain is still plastic and you can really make an impression on someone.
So when you were playing when you were younger, I'm going to go with, that was something your parents wanted you to do, play piano.
Yeah.
And then you did it for a while. Now, you said it was around 12 you started taking lessons with this woman. Mm-hmm. Did you want to continue? Was it something you still enjoyed doing? You just kind of didn't want to take formal, I don't want to push, just read music.
Right. I think it was that format. And that format was something that what compelled me as a young person to continue learning and playing music and learning new material and playing was what was going on at the time. So whether it was just the pop songs or the songs in church, I wanted to play things that, I don't know, whatever, triggered the dopamine up here in the brain, it's what I liked. I wanted to play what I liked, you know? And, so I think it was just that the stringent format is kind of, I don't know, maybe some kids are more apt to do that growing up and they're more disciplined. I was not a disciplined kid.
Well, I think there's a thing, I don't know if you had when you were younger, when you really got bitten by the music bug, right? Because if you start at like 8 or 9, I know some kids that I teach who kind of are really into it young and they want to do it. But when you get into it. Like, let's say I've always found that the age is somewhere like 12 or 13.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, most rock musicians that I know, that's the age. They hear it, they get into it, their friends start getting into it.
Right.
And then boom, it's like, oh yeah, this is something. But my point being is you start to hear other stuff that you want to do.
Right.
It's not necessarily I just want to read what was on the page.
Right.
You know? And for pianists, I think it may be different because there's a whole pedagogy of learning, which includes reading music. And for me, I read music a little bit on guitar when I was younger, and I could kind of do it and putz through. But it wasn't until I went to college and I was forced when I was studying classical that I was like, oh, I really got to know how to do this. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
You know? So what age was that for you that you really got into it? Was it because of the experience that you had of playing at that time with the church?
As a teenager and learning gospel music, so the influences I was surrounded by were a blend of, so in our church, most of the music that we did was very traditional.
Yeah.
Southern gospel was dominant in that setting. But then there was more traditional gospel, more soulful gospel that I'd listen to and pick up on these rhythms and pick up on these riffs and chords as well. So when I listen to more of a soulful gospel sound, I hear a lot of chords that I might not hear in my home church.
Gotcha.
And I want to learn those chords because I like the way that sounds. So I gravitated towards a lot of that and started studying gospel composers like Kurt Carr and learning some of these arrangements that they would produce. And I wanted to, later on I would learn that many of those chords are what you find in jazz chords. And never really studied jazz. I never really learned jazz standards, but I learned a lot of chord progressions that are found throughout jazz music. And so I would implement a lot of that. And yeah, that was the itch, I think, as a teenager when it really started to, this is something I want to learn this and I want to learn this. And I started, putting all that together and the sound that came out when I put it all together was something that I could tell the response I get, the feedback I would get from those around me would be, this sounds really good when you play it like that. And maybe I broke from a traditional 1 and 3. We always had a joke in the church. When we sing a congregational hymn, the folks start clapping. I grew up in an evangelical Pentecostal church, so very heavy in music, very, loud and boisterous, not so liturgical, more, evangelical. And everyone in the congregation, we'd sing a hymn and they would clap on the 1 and 3, clap on the 1 and 3. And then I'm over here and a few of us are like, I like clapping on the 2 and 4. I like the offbeat. I like that offbeat sound. That's that syncopation. That sounds good. So we would sing a lot of songs that had a little more kick to them sometimes. And, we had a youth choir when I was a teenager and I would sing and carry harmonies, tenor harmonies and, what else? Sing a few solos with that, and as well as other little duos and trios we put together. But yeah, that really scratched the itch when I was a teenager, and I started learning songs that really hit like that. I wanted to learn more of that, and I got really heavy into gospel music, and so. I can share some more stories about my educational experience and learning how to do, because I had a little bit of music education that went a long ways.
Right.
When I learned theory. But when I put all that together, it started to create a sound that I really liked it. I liked playing it. I liked singing it. I liked the way it felt. And I liked the response that I get. And that's very similar to what we do today as cover artists.
Sure.
When you play a song and this song here really pops, the crowd loves it when I play this. And there's particularly a song that has maybe a bluesy feel to it that sparks a lot of interest from crowd audience members. And you know what I mean? There's a lot of songs that come along like that.
So when you were playing in church and you were younger, were you quote unquote in the band where you had to learn all the music regularly, or were you just doing kind of sit in and playing kind of thing?
We typically had dedicated musicians for each instrument. So I know most churches have a piano and an organ.
Sure.
Depending on where you're at, you'll have a guitarist, a bass, a lead, maybe some rhythm, a drummer, which is another thing that I picked up on it. So at the same time, just to take a step back, when I was 10 years old, I was learning piano, but I like the drum kit too.
Sure.
So I go over in the church. Most of the time we live next door to the church, and I would go over there and just sit on the drum kit and put the headphones on and plug in the Walkman and put one of my favorite cassettes on, some band, and just start chunking away on them and learning all the toms and the cymbal crashes and the rhythms and beats that go along with different songs. And we typically had musicians that played, they were dedicated to the instrument, but there were times I would sit in, and I loved it. I loved getting to do that if I would sit in on an instrument. And then when I became more formal as a director in music, I would be the one predominantly on keys and playing chords along with other musicians, and we would kind of distinguish parts that we wanted to play. If they wanted to accompany this song with a lead, and I would come in with some chords. We put little things together like that.
Sure.
So,
that sounds awesome. I tell you what, I'm always jealous of piano players because I played in college. Well, when I was a kid, my grandfather used to play piano, so he tried to teach me how to play piano, and it never really stuck. I got older and played guitar, of course. But when I started going to college and even a little bit taking guitar lessons, my teacher showed me a little bit of plunking out stuff on piano. It never stuck. Really? I even took private lessons for a little on piano. And it may have been like when you play guitar, at least for me, studying classical, you try to keep your wrists straight so that you are not impeding the motion of your hands and tighten them up. And then when I started playing piano, it's like, no, you gotta bend them. And when I would play piano for a long time, man, my wrists hurt. And it was just something I never got. You give me anything with strings, a guitar, a ukulele, mandolin, I can play them.
Yeah.
No problems. Even violins and cellos to a poor extent.
Yeah.
Piano? No. I mean, I can plunk out some chords.
Right.
I can play 2 octave scales with both hands, but like playing a song, and no way, man. It's just never.
I can relate. I can totally relate. And we're probably on opposite ends of the spectrum in that regard, because I started a little bit on guitar.
Yeah.
When I was in 6th grade, we were in a music class, and we had a music instructor that she could recognize kids that have different levels of talent, and she took me and another guy aside and said, if you guys are interested, I'd like for you to learn a song on guitar. I said, okay. So I picked up an acoustic guitar, and we learned some basic chords, but we also learned to play note for note, just a melody. Mm-hmm. And we ended up playing, I remember we played for a school assembly in 6th grade, and for a Christmas, it was like a Christmas event, and we played What Child Is This? Mm-hmm. And I remember we just played it in unison together. We just picked the song out together. We might have had a part where we separated into 2 harmony, but yeah, we just played note for note the melody of the song, and it was pretty good. But never picked up interest in it after that.
Yeah.
I even picked it up as an adult for a couple years. I went and got me a cheap little acoustic guitar, and I was like, I remember these chords. Let me see what I can do with this. And at the time I had a cover band, and I was like, just humor me a little bit on this. I want to learn a couple songs and just pick up an acoustic and strum some rhythm with the lead guitarist playing. And we did a few songs, get my G, C, and D, E minor, B minor, just play something that I could do really well. And it was fun. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't catch on, man. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I didn't start young on that, and I didn't. That just wasn't the wheelhouse for me. You know, it never attracted me.
Yeah, it's different people. People are attracted to different instruments, and it's always curious to me. And I get the feeling like, how do I say this without? I don't want to sound insulting, but you weren't initially attracted to piano like that's the instrument. It sounds like you got started on lessons and you kind of grew into it in your own.
Yeah,
it wasn't like, I saw this piano player play and he was amazing, or she was amazing, and I want to go play just like they did.
Right.
You know?
Right. It was
and that's always interesting, man. Yeah. I mean, everybody's musical journey is different, and that's why I love doing this podcast, because you just find out.
Yeah.
You know, how they get into it. So when did you start getting into singing? Was that a secondary thing for you, or were you singing in church at the same time, or maybe in school with the choir?
So, interesting story. I was singing a lot in church. That was just sort of one of those things that comes with the territory of being a part of music in church. I was in high school before I ever got into any kind of choral, learning to sing in a choir formally. It was 10th grade. I was in theater class, and the theater teacher was also the chorus teacher, chorus choir director in chorus. And it just never occurred to me. I never really thought about, I could try out for chorus. It just wasn't, I don't know. Nobody pushed me. Nobody put the bug in my ear, and
right.
I never saw anything that drew me that direction. But one day I was in the theater class, and it was maybe before or after class time, and we were all just kind of hanging out with our friends, chit-chatting, and I was sitting at the piano, and I had a couple friends around. I was like, hey, this song? And I started playing a song. Actually, I remember it was, we were in theater class, so appropriately I was like, there's this song in the Phantom of the Opera that's called Rhythm of the Night, or Music of the Night. And I was like, I learned these chords, I started playing it, and then I started singing the song as I remembered it. And I don't know the initial response. I know how it ended, but I can envision the teacher behind me. She heard somebody playing and looked over there and saw it was me. She had no idea I could play. She walked up behind me, and when I finished the song, I was singing and playing with a couple friends sitting around, I looked over my shoulder. She was standing there with her hands on her hips looking at me. And she said, why are you not in my chorus? I said, well, I never really thought about it, to be honest. And she said, we're having auditions for next year, and you're coming. It's on this day. And she told me, and she's like, you're coming and you're auditioning to be in my chorus. I said, okay. So she was such a great teacher. I remember, this was West Oak High School in Westminster, South Carolina. God, her mind just left my brain, her name just left my mind, but, she was theater and music. She was also part of a 4-H club with some other ladies. They had like a kind of a ladies barbershop quartet style thing that they did, and some other theater-esque type of productions. She had these ladies come in, which I'm sure they were all, very talented singers and musicians. And that was the judges panel. So she had a legitimate setup here for auditioning these kids. You want to put the right kids in the right class. These were 3 different levels. There was like a beginners, an intermediate, and chamber choir.
Sure.
So when I got up and sang a piece for them, they looked at me and they said, you have a lot of music background. I said, yeah, I started taking lessons when I was a kid on the piano. They said, you play piano? I said, yes. I said, do you sight read? I said, no.
Damn, that teacher was trying to push me. I should have listened.
And that one lady that was the head of the panel, she pointed her finger at me. She said, you need to learn to sight read, and you need to start taking piano lessons again. And I just kind of, twisted my toe in the ground like, okay, and, she's like, but they put me in the chamber choir to sing harmonies, and, interesting transition that took place there. So I remember saying my dad was a pastor, and in our denomination, it was a arrangement where many pastors would go to a certain church, to this congregation for so many years, wherever there's a need to be met. So we moved around a lot. And after that year, we moved to Greenville. So that was my initial residence in Greenville. Started going to Berea High School in Greenville, and just went into whatever their level of chamber choir was, and had a great experience in there my entire junior year of high school. So then the teacher, I always draw attention to myself because teachers see that this kid over here, he knows a lot more than we think he does, because I had a lot of music background and instruction as a kid. She said, have you ever thought about auditioning to attend the Fine Arts Center in Greenville?
Yeah.
So the Fine Arts Center is it's not independent or private. I think it's actually in conjunction with the public school system, but kids can audition to go here. And these classes you can take, they count towards college credit. It's a very good education system they have, and still there to this day. So I went and auditioned for a voice, and once again, the teacher, he gave me a series of tests. So there was an audition piece that I did to display whatever my vocal abilities were. And there was also, I think there was some kind of a written portion where I could recite to them if I took foreign languages, took Spanish, and I had a real knack for Spanish. I always had an A average in that class. And of course, I don't remember any Spanish today because I don't use it, but, I had a pretty good, enunciation. I had really good, vowel sounds, and he listened to this. He says, I'm going to put you in this class over here, which is another, above beginner's level. The first song we ever learned in that voice class was in Italian.
Oh, God.
And I'd never done anything like this in my life. I was like, oh, God, I don't know what I'm doing. But he takes you, he has a class of 4, I think we had 5 students in that class for an hour and a half. And he takes you, everyone has a time slot. And he even had a sound booth over here where if you were not on at the piano, you could go over here and you could practice a little bit before you come up. Anyways, I go up there and he walks you through. This is the pronunciation. This is how it goes. And I could sight read some music still as a teenager, so I could follow the lines on the staff and figure out exactly how to sing these. And he would teach me some other little embellishments that I'd never seen before. So I learned a lot in there. But when I got up in this voice class, he looked at me and he said, "You're doing really good on your tone, but you sound like Garth Brooks trying to sing opera." Cause all the songs that we do were operatic. That's the formal, it's like if you take someone from another country and you teach them English, you teach them proper English. You don't teach them Southern dialect or Northeastern dialect or what, you teach them the proper sound. So in this format of learning operatic music, you're displaying an ability to sing the notes on pitch with the words of whatever the language is in the right vowel sounds, the right diction and articulation and expression. You learn all these different styles of expression. So we got to, I want to say it was the second piece that we learned that semester. It was another song in Italian. And I don't remember the words. I don't remember how the song went, but I do remember there was a place in the song where it reaches a crescendo and it's somewhere towards the chorus, and you have to hit this really high note on some like a vowel sound, and you have to really project on this part. And every time we did that song, I got everything else right, but I just didn't hit it like he wanted to hear it. And now I want to give a shout out, because there may be some former students that listen to this, of Michael Rice, rest in peace. He passed away a few years after I graduated. Just the most inspirational voice teacher, impacted so many students' lives, including a really good friend of mine. That there was another student in my high school, and we rode over to the Fine Arts Center together every day. Shout out to La Frederick. He left Fine Arts Center. He was a year below me, or a year younger, and he graduated and went straight to Juilliard. And he's still in New York City to this day, just living and loving it up there. But we got to this one piece of music, and Mr. Rice, he said, I can't remember the words he said to me, but he told me how he wanted me to project on this note. He's like, you gotta, point to the diaphragm. I want you to go from right here, and I want you to sing it like, and he gave me some sort of analogy, and I said, okay, I'm going to try this out. And we came back into the piece, and we got to the crescendo line, and I just let out this, na, 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 and all the other 4 students, eyes big as silver dollars, looking at me, and he stopped the song. He was like, that's it. I want nothing less from you than that level of commitment and dedication right there. and something clicked. Something clicked in that moment, and I was like, I know what I need to do. I know what's up now. I know how this works. I understand what I'm expected to do now. I don't know why I didn't before, but he brought something out in me to sing and to project and to convey not just the technical notes and vowel sounds, but to convey an emotion of what you're singing. Okay. Changed my life forever. To this day, I think back to that moment, and that was a pivotal moment for me as a vocalist. And, there's so many good singers out there, and I want to make a plea to, I've got, friends of mine, their kids that sing or take music lessons. I have a nephew he's in school right now in college studying theater, and I think they do a little bit of musical studies. And even if you're a good singer, having a good instructor to teach you things that you don't know, someone that can bring something out of you that you don't know that you have inside of you, and to give you a method to connect with the music is life-changing. And that was a life-changing moment for me. It changed the way that I do everything. And I look back to that moment and I think about how that I learned how to not just connect with notes on a page, but I learned how to connect with the emotion of a song, the ambiance, what you bring to the people, to the listeners of that song. You want the people to feel something of what you're singing, then you have to tap into the emotion of this song. Cause you'll listen to a pop song now or a rock song or a country song. You know, Chris Stapleton, you listen to something that he does and every note that he sings, he has the signature voice as soon as you hear him.
Sure.
Even if it's a new song you didn't know he had, you hear the voice and you're like, that's Chris Stapleton. But when he sings a line, he knows how to convey a feeling with the song. It's what makes these A-list singers so great at what they do. And there's so many other unknowns out there, and they have that talent. And when you get in front of an audience, if you know how to tap into that and know how to use your talent, there's a very big distinction, I think, between talent and skill. So many people have talent. They have the raw earth materials inside of them to produce, to create something musical. But if you learn how to hone that skill, if you learn how to sharpen that axe, and you get to a point where you can stand in front of an audience and you can convey a song, you can listen to maybe an album recording or something that you're going to cover and then bring it, even in your own rendition, you can bring this song to an audience and you can connect the emotions, the inflections, the crescendos, all the movements of that song to where people are like, that's it. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was something that I never learned prior to taking voice and music theory. I also was in a theory class that blew my mind. I never had music theory at a collegiate level before. But that also changed. That actually made me a better musician, was learning the theory.
There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of stuff as you go along musically, if you're studying music and you're really into it, that you're going to have to learn along the way. It's not all going to come, when you're 16.
Yeah.
It's the path that you take and how interested you are in it will dictate, I think, where you wind up. Some people, I said it before on the podcast, I've talked to other musicians about it. Let's just say making it for a second.
Yeah.
And I don't mean making it like you are a household name and an international star. I just mean making music and being successful is more than just talent.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other skills. You've got to have some business skills. You got to have interpersonal skills. You got to have your musical skills. You got to have your talent. I mean, there's a lot of other things. I mean, if you don't have all those things to a certain point, it's not going to happen. Whether it's just trying to get a gig at the local brewery. Mm-hmm. Like if you can't communicate with the manager and you can't, follow up with an email, you're not going to get the gig.
Yeah.
If you show up late.
Yeah.
They're just like, who is this person? They're not even on time to play.
Yeah. There's fundamentals about being a cover artist.
Yeah.
Even an original, but just maintaining or building a business and doing what you want to do. There's fundamentals that you have to learn, and I learned them. I learned. I'll give you this as a sidebar. We had the cover band going around COVID in 2020, and it was a struggle to navigate. And I made it a point. I wanted to really connect with these business owners, these venue owners and managers. I wanted to connect with them, not just because, I wanted to connect with them because obviously I want to get back up on stage. I want to get to playing music as soon as we can. Let's get back at it. But let's do it in the right time frame and let's navigate this together. And I learned a lot about their side of the business. Mm-hmm. I spent some one-on-one time talking with managers and owners, and I learned about the expectations that are set.
So the last thing that you learn is that the managers, the last thing they're worried about is the music.
Yeah. In many cases.
I mean, and that's not to throw shade at anybody. That is, they're managing people, they're managing customers, they're managing food, they're managing the owners.
Yeah.
I mean, they want you as a musician to kind of just show up and do your thing.
Right.
They don't want to have to manage you too.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, yeah, that you made a great point. I was thinking about a couple of places where we played regularly, and I wanted them to know that I'm on their team. I'm not the guy over here like, book me now. Come on, you ready to book me? Like, I want to be on your team. I want to follow you, and I want to make this transition as smooth and as effortless as I can for you. And when you think of it, when you come at it from that perspective, you really kind of have to abandon some of your selfish ambitions, and that's not meant to be an insult to us. I think all of us, to a certain degree, as musicians, have our own selfish ambitions about what we want to do, and we want to play this, and we want to do that. And but when you're working through a difficult situation like that, you really get to side with the people who are, and you never think of it until you get in this situation. Like, I'm working with these are my business associates, really, if you want to call it that. I mean, I'm there to propagate their business. It's what we do as cover artists. We're there to make the money, not just for us, but for them.
Yes.
We're there to, push the sales, food, beverages, everything that they call us in to do. And if we think of it in that aspect, I think it makes it a little bit easier for us as cover artists to work with them and not work at them or work, for them, like, like a boss, we're working with them. And I want to find out, what is it that I can do to make everything that you want to come out of this more attainable?
Sure.
And when I begin to come at it from that, and the COVID pandemic really helped me get on a one-on-one personal level with some of these guys, I began to look at it through a different lens. And when I began to look at it through a different lens, it changed the way that I go about booking gigs. Mm-hmm. Because now I know how to approach the owners and managers of the venues about not what I want to do, but what is it that I can do for you. And when I begin to approach it like that, and I could put it in, many different specific terms as far as the atmosphere and the stage setting and the set list. But really what it is how can I facilitate your purpose, your reason for having us here, to make things, to let you have a good night. We want to have a good night as a band, as a soloist, but you want to have a good night at the cash register.
Yeah.
So what can I do? And I have learned many skills over the recent years of how to, whether it's, getting a little crowd participation, like, let's do a toast. That means you're going to go buy more drinks. And you just little nuances that we put in there that is going to work good for them. And if you work good with them, they're going to book you to come back. You're going to have a good relationship going forward. And I think that's how we should approach things. I think sometimes musicians can get caught up in their own idea of how things should be, or their expectations, and managing their expectations to a degree where they don't get exactly what they think they're supposed to get out of a relationship or out of a gig with a venue and a venue owner. And they get a little frustrated. Maybe they get discouraged.
Sure.
You can really get into your own head about these things. And I really encourage people not to do that. I'm the world's worst about getting in my own head about things.
Yeah.
Cause I'm a bit of a perfectionist. When I put together a song, I want to put together something that, I listen to it. People who know me will tell you I listen to myself. If I record something, I like to do a little stream, for a song or two. I'll go back and listen to it over and over and just, how did I do on that? Was I off pitch there? I listen to these things, and it really doesn't matter in the long run, because people in real time don't notice those things. Only I notice when I'm off on something. But I think if you get into your own head about that kind of stuff, you can really discourage yourself or affect your mood, and that's no fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things with managers that it's always an interesting thing. The one, which is, it's just every musician has always dealt with, and seems to be happens a lot more these days than I think. Once you think you have cultivated this relationship, with particular managers or booking, they're gone.
Yeah.
There's a few places I played.
Oh yeah.
And, there's turnover.
Yeah.
And just when you think that is, the next manager come in, doesn't know you.
Yeah.
And they already may have a stockpile of musicians that they know.
Yeah.
So now you after playing there 2 or 3 years, you're out.
Yeah.
Because they have somebody else who comes in who brings somebody else.
That's happened.
my other issue sometimes, and I kind of brush it off because it may not be the place for me, is when you reach out to a new place, I'm sure you've had that happen, because most musicians I know have had, the first question is, what kind of crowd are you bringing? And my answer is always, and it's true, I play from Mooresville to Waxhaw and farther down into South Carolina.
Yeah.
I have people come and see me. I'm not going to tell you that all of a sudden, I'm going to bring 100 people to your bar or restaurant on a Friday night.
Yeah.
It would be disingenuous.
Yeah.
And if I was going to bring a massive crowd to your bar or restaurant, I would be charging you a lot more than I would.
Right.
Because, if I bring 20 or 30 people and they're spending $10 a piece, or at this case, it's $25 a piece, you're going to be paying me, $600 a night.
Yeah. There are different types of venues for that.
Yep.
And it's a whole nother conversation you could have with people in the industry, but,
my job is to keep bottoms in seats.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if people are coming for a live music experience, I've been playing places and they came in, customers are coming in and I talk to them afterwards. Like, I came in just to see you because I saw you were playing around town and I've heard good things and that's awesome. But my job is to maybe pull in people, but to keep bottoms in seats, order that extra appetizer,
right.
Get that extra drink,
right.
Because they're enjoying the music, and then they, instead of coming in for an hour, they stuck around for 2 hours,
right?
Because they had good conversation with their friends and they love the music. And it happened to me last night. People were like, "Oh man, we just loved it. Where are you playing next? Or when are you coming back here to play?"
Yes.
Here's my card. Check my calendar. I'll be back here in September.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And I have an easy answer for that question, particularly if it's a newer venue. I'll say, well, this is my first time or my second time playing here, but the more often you have me come back, the more people get used to seeing my face and seeing my name. So we'll develop a following that's gonna grow the more I play here, and that happens.
That's the other thing and I could be wrong, but a lot of places don't seem to follow through with having staple people every first Friday of the month, so that you can start to build that crowd that comes to see these certain people, and for better or worse, you can see who's working.
Yeah.
Hey, if Philip's going to be here every first Friday, we see we're building a crowd every first Friday because they know that he's going to be able to do this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And they're coming just to see him. And this other person, as wonderful as they are, nobody's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's Charlotte. And there's a billion things to do.
Yeah.
And you can never guarantee just because you play every first Friday, there's not going to be, Taylor Swift's not coming to town that Friday and you're not going to get people coming in. There's not a football game that Friday and people going uptown, or a soccer game.
Right.
Or there's there's a billion things going on now in Charlotte where it's not
right
what it was 15 years ago, where it's like, there's not that much going on.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh.
Yeah, we're splitting reps with the other forms of entertainment around town.
Yeah.
And I've been on both sides of that, man. I had a venue where I played a couple of years ago, and I played there every 3 months maybe, and every 4 months, and they eventually I'm not going to name the place, but they actually canceled on me, which was fine. It's understandable. You can't do it. That's fine. But I inquired about a follow-up, and there was no follow-up.
Right.
And I go back in and check on them, see if there's a possibility I think I might get into here. And I noticed a change in what they were doing. So they did switch over and start doing a little more karaoke nights, which is cool. Then when I see live music playing there, they start booking a lot more local people. This is about 40 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So they start booking some, and younger acts.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a stab at that and say people that don't charge as much.
Oh, absolutely.
And people who are going from playing around the bonfire to, I'd like to be on a stage sometime. Okay, we'll let you on stage for we'll give you $150, or something like that. And that's okay. If that's the route they want to go, I have no qualms with that whatsoever, because that's their their wheelhouse. That's what they're
Sure.
looking for.
Absolutely.
And that's also in their budget, because some places don't have the budget for that. But, yeah, this is a big discussion, man, on some of these forums. Like, you ever go to one of these cover band central forums?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen the shorts, the iPad, debate. There's always a debate on something.
People talk about whether it's the artist responsibility or the venue responsibility. Listen, it depends on the venue. It depends on the expectations.
Yep.
It depends on the atmosphere. There's a lot of places I'm playing in 2 weeks at a brewery, and they will not book the same person more than once per 6 months. And
That's crazy.
I have them once for the year, which is fine. They have a very long list. I've noticed from just, scrolling and reading their previous artists that have come through. They have a very long list of people that come through there and play. And that's great. They're giving a lot of people the experience of playing at that place. And I'm looking forward to being there in 2 weeks. And then there are places like we mentioned that, perhaps you get on a rotation of just a dozen musicians and you're in their top favorites. They're going to have you come back, and guess what? You're going to build a following there too, because people are going to get used to seeing your face. But it's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different setup to where if you're going to the once every 6 months place, they already have an audience. They know people are going to be there, and probably not even charge an admission. It's just your average brewery with a good crowd on a Saturday afternoon, evening, or Friday night. And they know the crowd's going to be there, so that's not in question. They just want good talent to set the atmosphere and see how you're going to do. But yeah, it depends on where you go, and there's no definitive answer for that question.
Yeah.
There's no definitive answer to the iPad question. It's just it's the setup, it's the genre, it's the format in which you're doing.
There's also a lot of hustle. I mean, you, and I don't take things personally anymore. Like if I've been playing someplace and somebody doesn't get back to me, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm not like, I know it's got nothing to do with me, because I mean, I don't want to sound big headed. My calendar gets pretty booked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I'm not playing there. Well, guess what? Someplace else popped up. Yeah. It does make me wonder why I can't get a gig there, because I think every musician, and I was telling somebody that the other day, and I'm sure it's hit you. We all have gig envy.
Yeah.
Right? There's some place that you haven't played.
Yeah.
Even though your calendar is booked for the month, you're good for the next, let's say 5 months.
Yeah.
And you see somebody playing there. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. And you're like, man, how come I can't get a gig there? There are places in Charlotte which make me laugh. I have been sending them emails or talking to them for 10 years. 10 years. And I have still not played there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, why can I play these other 50 places in Charlotte, but I can't get hired at your place. Is there something? Did I rub somebody wrong? Is it? Do you not like my vibe? What's going on?
I'm thinking of a couple places right now.
Yeah,
exactly
we all
the
have
same
them.
thing. But like I said, every person in position of management or owners or whoever handles the booking there is a different personality.
Yes,
they have a different take on it, and the majority of those people. Not slinging stones at anybody, but the majority of those people have no experience in music industry, music entertainment industry.
Yep.
They are hospitality industry.
Yep.
Now, some of them are really good with it. Some of them they know how this works. They know the relationship with musicians.
But they do know what sounds good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I won't name the place, but I was playing one night. And I remember I'd taken a break, and I went over to the bar to get my water filled. And I was talking to the bartender, and he goes, man, I got to tell you. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, we had this guy in here last night. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, and I'm listening to you and listening to the guy from last night. And I'm like, uh-huh. And I was waiting for the dime to drop of like,
the dig.
You suck. Right. And he goes, now I hear the difference between somebody who can play guitar and somebody who plays guitar. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, the guy who was in here last night, every song sounded the same because he played the same guitar part.
Oh, yeah.
Like every strum, what he's trying to say is every strum was the same.
Yeah.
He's like, you've got this going on, you got that going on, you break up the strumming pattern, you do. And I was like, man, thank you. You know, so what you perceive as a musician, you know, of what the business aspect is, of what other people are noticing, might be a little bit different than what we think, because they hear enough people coming in and playing where they're able to pick out, this person doesn't sing that well, or they, you know, are awkward with the crowd. You know, they don't know what to say over a microphone, or they don't play that well. You know, there's a lot of things that we don't realize as musicians picking up, and I think they do. Mm-hmm. You know, they might not be musically savvy.
They can tell.
But they can tell.
Yeah.
They've seen enough people coming in.
Right.
You know, and hence there's people who may not be playing, you know, as much regularly as you are.
Yeah.
You know, in town.
I totally
Particularly
agree.
with the influx of new people in the last couple of years. Like I said it before, I used to know everybody who was in town. And I don't mean on a personal level, but I mean, I would see them shooting out, you know, where they're playing.
Right.
And I'd be like, I don't know them, but I've seen them before. I've seen these guys before. I've seen these guys before. Now I'm like, I have no idea who half these people are.
Yeah.
Like as Charlotte has grown, musicians have just come to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And there's just so many more people on the market now.
Yeah.
The only good part is folks like you or I have been around for a bit. We kind of at least established a reputation. So if somebody goes, like I was at a brewery one night, I wasn't even there playing, and I just was having a drink with a friend, and I was just inquiring about music. Mm-hmm. And the lady's like, oh yeah, what's your name? And I told her, and she goes, I've heard of you. And I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, like my name's been around a little bit. Somebody, I might not be great.
Yeah, you made it.
Know? But somebody's seen my stuff around.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So there's just a lot that goes into the hustle of it that we might not see in the business aspect of it,
Right.
you know?
I totally agree.
So, and then a lot of managers, dude, I don't think sometimes they realize that you realize. Mm-hmm. And what I mean to that is, here's a little side story, which is funny. So I was playing this place, which will remain nameless, a number of years ago. And the manager there, nice person, would talk to me, and I would say, I work for you. You let me know if the volume's too high or too loud, or if it's not loud enough. You let me know what I need to do, and, you know, we'll make it happen. Okay. So I'm playing there. And I played there a few times. I mean, I almost probably been playing there like a year or something like that. Mm-hmm. Once a month. And so this one time, and this was a particularly loud restaurant. Like, it got packed. Mm-hmm. Like, even when I wasn't playing, it was loud.
Right.
And I remember seeing this older lady came in, and she covered her ears.
Oh, no.
As if I was playing too loud. And maybe a customer had said I was too loud. So the manager comes over to me and she says, you know, can you lower it? And I'm like, sure, no problem. And I lower it. And she comes over again a little while later. Hey, you're still too loud. Can you lower it? Now, I'm sitting in a corner, like, I'm not really thinking I'm that loud.
Yeah.
Right? And so I turn down a little bit more. I'm like, sure, no problem. She comes over a third time. Can you lower it? And I just kind of laughed, and I was like, sure, no problem. So I lower it. And at some point, it was like a week later, I of course have finished a gig, and I'm calling her and talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I don't think we're going to have you back. And I said, okay. I said, well, do you mind if I ask what the problem was? What's the issue? Well, you know, I came over to you to ask you to lower music a couple of times, and you were laughing at me. Mm. And I said, I totally understand. I don't blame you. I said, but let me just say this to you. And she said, what's that? And she had nothing to reply to. I said, I think I've had this conversation with you a couple of times. I've told you I work for you. You kept coming over to me, asking me to turn down, and you kept apologizing. And I laughed because you don't need to apologize to me.
Yeah.
I work for you.
Right.
You tell me what you need, and I make it happen. Yeah. You don't need to come over. Man, I'm sorry. I need you to turn down again. There's a oh, man, I need you. Like, don't apologize. Here's what I need. I need you to turn down. Mm-hmm. It's not turned down enough. Turn down more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to make your environment, you know?
Right.
Needless to say, I never played there again, but it was just kind of like a thing. They don't realize that, you know, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And as you point, we started this part of the conversation, I'm here to help you with your business.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then I don't thinking about that. So
Yeah.
interesting stuff, man. When you get into it, people don't think of that entrepreneurial part as a musician.
Right.
You know, we're thinking, I'm a performer or I'm an artist. Dude, you're an entrepreneur. You're in business.
It is a business, and you need to learn a few business skills. It really goes a long ways.
Yeah.
If you learn how to work with these businesses. I was thinking of a couple stories where you're saying that. I've had the exact same experience, man. And I have made a new procedure, a new routine when I set up. Now, this is exclusive to me because my voice, the way my voice carries, I have a piano. I use some backing tracks when I play. So I have multiple things going on. It's going to be different for other musicians. But what I'll do is I want to fill the room out. I need to be set up and ready at least 20 minutes prior to start. At that point in time, maybe more, but at least 20 minutes. At that point in time, I'll ask them if they want to turn their house music off. I'll tell them I'm going to do a sound check. Now, what I'm going to do is I have a playlist here. I'm going to play some good music. I'm going to play some music that people are going to enjoy. Just some recording, just a playlist on Apple Music. I'm going to play that music. I use a powered speaker. I like powered speakers. I like having the power pushing it from the speaker, not from a standalone amp. I like that setup, and then I can tweak it from a board.
Yeah.
The signal. So I know about where I want my levels to start. I'm going to turn it a little bit lower than that. I'm going to go out in front of the speaker. I'm going to take my phone. It's a free app with a decibel meter. Anybody can download. Just see where it's at right now. Now, over the years, I've kind of gauged what I think is loud based on people's responses.
Sure.
And now you can tell, no offense to the guys out there that may be listening to this, but you can tell if you're too loud. We as musicians, I know we want to feel the music. We want to feel the bass hitting
Sure.
the chest. We want to feel like we're in a arena stage. You know, we want that. We want to set that tone early, set it. You know, get the people involved. You know, but it doesn't work like that everywhere. Very seldom, I think, it works like that. You want to start off at a very moderate pace. Don't hit the ground running. Don't jump on the treadmill when it's going 10 miles an hour because you're going to fall off.
Yeah.
In other words, manager's going to come up to you and say something, and maybe they don't have a good perception of it, but maybe they do, and maybe they say, just bump it down a little bit, please. I stand out there, I'll take a decibel meter, and I'll see it about 78, 80 decibels, maybe 85 at the most.
So you're playing the backing track, the background track, and
Yeah.
then going out and checking the decibels. Okay.
I stand about 10 feet in front of the speaker, which is usually where you'll find the first row of tables.
Sure.
It's depending on where you're at. It might be a small room. It might be a lot closer than that, but 10 feet, just see where I'm at. 80 decibels, that's pretty loud. This happened to me Friday night, actually. I was doing my check, and a lady came up to me. She said that she saw me on the schedule, and she wanted to ask me what kind of music I play. So I'm at 80. I'm up high right now. I'm at about 87 decibels, and I start talking to her, and I'm like, I can't hear what she's saying. It's got to come down closer to 80. That's a really good perception to start off with in the show if you're the one trying to have a conversation 10 feet in front of the speaker. But if you look out there when you're playing and you see people leaning in to talk, you see the bartender leaning over the bar to take a drink order from somebody.
Yeah.
You're probably too loud, particularly if that's happening, at a distance away, and you see people that they're struggling to have a conversation. And
Sure.
if they're not in the atmosphere already of sing-alongs and dance and party, then you can get a little more volume going because people want to get into that. But if you're in the dinner crowd and the families are sitting together and the coworkers are having conversation and you see them leaning over the table, and you probably need to turn it down at that point in time until you get some feedback, you get some response, and then let's bring it up a little bit. Let's get it going. But yeah, I like that 80 decibel range. I started about there.
That's interesting because I don't do my sound check like that. I do it. I'm wireless.
Okay.
With my guitar.
Yeah.
So what I generally do is I at this point, I know my sound system.
Yeah.
And I know this is where it's going to be.
Right.
Maybe a little less.
Yeah.
So, but I will always check, make sure everything's set. I hit a loop on my guitar and then I walk out. Mm-hmm. So I'll walk out. I'm close by it.
Yeah.
And I walk out maybe 50 feet to see where the sound is. And I've also hit my distortion pedal on my pedal board.
Yeah.
And I'll be just soloing over the backing track.
Right.
The distortion will be louder than,
Right.
It'll be a pinch louder than whatever, loop I have running. And I judge it from there. Mm-hmm. And then, the restaurant, of course, or a brewery is going to fill up, or if there's not a lot of people in there, you're going to probably be less because the bodies, the amount of bodies in the place absorb the sound.
Right.
So,
and it depends on the room. It depends on the materials on the wall. If you're in a brick building or one of these breweries, it's an old warehouse. It's all steel everywhere. It's just, there's no paneling, no acoustic paneling in there.
Yep.
It's going to bounce off everything, and you're going to have to really mitigate the situation to make it to where it's not overbearing on the people in the room that are listening to it.
Right.
Worst case scenario, I went to a brewery. I was not playing that night. We went out. It was late. It was like 10 p.m. And I just wanted to get something to eat. And we sat down to have a drink and waiting on food. There was a band in the tap room.
Yeah.
It's a large tap room. It's probably maybe 1,500 square foot tap room. Four guys. There was less than a dozen people in the tap room.
They were just turned up.
They were so loud. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name the brewery.
Sure, of course.
I'm not trying to call people out here. I just want people to know I had to do I didn't want to be this guy. I had to do it because as a musician,
Did you walk up to him and say, "Can you lower down?"
No. I was thinking in the back of my mind, okay, where is this at? Where is this level at? I really want to know where this level's at. To make matters worse.
Did you take out your app?
I took out my app.
That's great. That's great.
Don't shame me for I was educational. I was wanting
I wanted to
learn.
Curiosity, yeah.
I wanted to see what this is. I wanted to see what this is because I want to know this is deafening. This is really, really loud. What's that level like? So I pull out my phone. I'm just kind of walking through the tap room, like maybe I'm scrolling Facebook or something and just look at I got my decibel meter. I'm walking by, and to make matters worse, they had a sound guy in there set up about 15 feet from kind of in front and off center to where they were. He had an old analog board there with the amps and the stacks and everything, and the snake running up to the front. And I stood back to where he was, and it peaked at 100 decibels. And I was like, oh my God, these guys, they don't know. Maybe they were a younger band, but 100 decibels is like, I think that cross references to about the volume of a chainsaw or a power tool. Yeah. Like up in front of you. It's pretty loud. It's, it can be damaging to the ears over a long extended period of time, and you don't want to bring that upon the listeners. And that's probably why there were, out of the population in that place that night, about 50% of the people were outside where there was no sound out there. It was closed off from the tap room. And I went out there. We got a table outside, and I sat down. I told my fiance, I was like, they're playing at 100 decibels. I can't. That's rough, man. And I don't know, maybe that's like one.
Young guys?
Yeah.
They probably don't know.
They probably don't know. That's just like one setting they have for every room. And, but yeah, I mean, it's really something to think about.
But the sound guy should know.
He should. Yeah. I hope that.
If you're sitting out there and you're front of house with the soundboard, you should know what the band's doing.
Maybe he's a volunteer, somebody's uncle going up.
The only time you should really be that loud is if you are playing outside.
Right.
If you are outside, you kind of need to push the air a little bit more.
Yeah.
You can't be quiet.
Right.
People are not, and generally if you're playing outside, people are not like 10 feet from you.
Yeah.
They're a ways back anyway because they don't want to be hit with the louder volume.
And they'll come up. They'll come up closer if they want. If you're jamming it out and people are really loving it, and maybe you've got some people at the tables in front of you, and you're playing a lower volume, I look back and I'll see, this weekend I saw, they were probably 25 feet away from me. A couple ladies sitting at a high top table, and they were just moving their shoulders and singing. Their mouth was going with my mouth. They were enjoying it. And after a little while, they came up to where I was to get closer to the volume.
Yeah.
Cause people will do that. And so we don't have to feel like we need to just we need to envelop people with our sound. They will come, they'll gravitate towards what they want.
Sure.
If they want to be a part of the experience, they will come up there. So, don't sweat it. If it's a small room, you need to start out low. I was on a patio that night, so I had it a little bit higher. And, people just came up to where I was, and I had a great night. So there's so much. I mean, when you're playing, there's just a lot of things to think about. And again, there's a learning curve, and I don't care if it's talking to management and working with them, or learning to develop your sound. Yeah.
And your sound system. What's your setup like anyway? I'm just curious. What are you using?
So when I first put together a solo act for myself, I started out just like a casual lounge gig, something real low key, smaller room. It was a nice lounge. I set it up to where, so what I wanted to do, I wanted to have my keys set up to play the songs. I wanted to have a little bit more meat. I wanted it to be more meaty. So I put some drum loops together that I could use for songs. And I have my MacBook sitting beside me, and I have all this laid out in just an open window on there with all my MP3s. And the cool thing about this is on a MacBook, if you're looking at an open window in the Finder app, you have all your MP3 files, and if you move your mouse cursor over top of the file, it'll pop up a little play button.
Sure. You
can just tap the play button. So you don't have to open another application. So it makes it really easy for that setup to where all you have to do is just tap the play button and it starts that file to play. Okay. So I'll have an endless, like an endless loop. It's, it's probably 10 times as long as what I need, but that's going to keep it running for me. And then I can kill the drum loop, when I get to a certain point at the end of the song where I know it's going to fit, and then I kill it. Now I began to, so that was initially. After that, I began to advance a little more and say, okay, now I can do some tracks because I have some software, or I can rip some tracks and actually take a vocal remover from an original album song. Mm-hmm. I can remove the vocals, and maybe the song has piano in it, but I can remove the piano, the band sound, and just have drums with a bass, or just have drums with a guitar and bass playing. And then I can actually cut and paste, and I just use a simple GarageBand software. I can cut and paste if I want to do 2 courses here. It's like a 3-minute song. I'll make it 4 minutes. I'm going to cut and paste here and move this. And I geek out a little bit on this stuff. I want to make
That's great. That's fun.
Make these songs sound a certain way. And, I'll take, any song, a Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Woman. It starts off with, Charlie Watt hitting the cowbell, and just go into that, and just the drums come in, and then a guitar riff, and then I start singing, and then I know kind of where I'm going to put the keys in there, and just bring it in, and people love it. People respond to it like, man, that sounds great. And so many musicians out there probably listening to me saying this, just like shaking their head or squinting their face up at me for using tracks.
It's a current debate.
You've got the people out there, man. I hate to break it to them, but some of those A-listers on stage, they've got backing tracks running with them with a band.
They do now.
They've even got teleprompters now, so they have lyrics in front of them.
Yeah.
They make a whole new system. God, I forgot what it's called. But it's like a floor wedge, but it has a screen on it.
Yes.
That you can put in front of you now. There's all kinds of.
There was somebody, just because you brought it up, I'll just mention it. There was somebody, I think it was Gary Sharon from Extreme, and somebody had asked him about having the teleprompter on stage to help with the lyrics. And he had said, it's not that I don't know the lyrics. He goes, and he goes, and it's not that all these other bands don't know the lyrics. It's the reason they have the teleprompter on stage to help with the lyrics is you're running around and you're doing your thing, and you're looking at fans. Like, it's not like, you're just, sitting in your room. memorizing something.
Yeah.
You're on stage and a billion things could be happening in the audience that you're watching, and something could happen that you are looking at for a second and you forget where you are.
Yeah.
He's like, and the reason I have it is to get back to where I am,
Right.
to know where I am in the music.
Right.
He's like, it's not because I don't know the words to the song and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to stare at it. Much to your point, with backing tracks, a lot of these bands now, man, they gotta have them to fill out the sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have so much in the music. There's I don't know if you're a Rush fan, but I remember Geddy Lee mentioned about using backing tracks. He's like, look, we do use them. He goes, that's not that we couldn't. We could have somebody else on stage with us. He goes, but our fans don't really want to see somebody on stage with us.
Yeah.
They're coming to see the three of us play.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would really accept us having 2 or 3 other utility musicians on stage to play with us. This is not our thing.
Yeah.
And then some bands will have orchestral parts, and to fill out the sound, they got to do it.
Yeah.
But then there's some bands who might not play their instruments
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or sing,
Yeah.
that well. And we've all heard of rock musicians, There's even a guy, I forget his name. He's older. He's for like the 50s or something. He's like 90 something years old. And he's out on stage now and he's just lip syncing his songs.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He's not even, if I can remember his name, he's obviously lip syncing.
Right. I've seen that reel pop up. Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
just some of it.
It's a musical experience for the audience, and I think musicians overcomplicate things, or some of them just nitpick because it's fun. It's fun to pick apart. But
there's a thing about there's that debate about it is like, I guess some musicians think it's fake.
Oh,
in a certain way,
Yeah.
it's well, you're not able to do it by yourself, and blah 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 blah. Why are we going to? And I've come around to the opinion. I never used to like them, but I've come to the point. I'm like, if it works for you, and you can make it sound good, do it. Because I don't think maybe it's no different from me sitting there using a looper when I'm doing a guitar solo. I'll hit the looper and I'll do a solo, or I have a harmonizer. So when I'm singing, it harmonizes.
Is it Ed Sheeran that uses a looper on stage?
He does, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of these guys, there's technology can be to your advantage, not to your detriment, I think. And you can come on stage and make a really great production, present a great product to the people that people are going to love it. They enjoy it. So yeah, to go back to your original question, I put together something that it took me a little while to get used to it. And, I'm very comfortable with it now, especially the tracks that I've used for a long time, many shows I've run through. And then sometimes I just have no track at all. Somebody wants to hear Piano Man.
Right.
Here we go. Play I can't play harmonica, but I'll play the harmonica part on the keys and, go into the chord progressions and just sing along, and it's a great sing along song for everybody in the audience. But yeah, it depends on the vibe and what people want to hear. And I've kind of learned over time, just trial and error, what works and what doesn't.
Well, I'll have to hit you up later and talk about the backing tracks because there's something I'm doing. I'll show you after we record. But what's your wheelhouse of music of tunes that you're doing? Is there a certain era, or you just try to hit everything and just do the stuff that people like?
So I'll go just a little bit farther back before I get to the answer to that question, and I'll tell you where I came from. So you remember I telling the story about church music? And, in 2009, I was on staff at a church in Columbia, South Carolina, music director, and everything went really well there. I'd left from there and moved up to North Carolina in 2010, and that was my first introduction to the Charlotte music scene. And I was still doing some church music spots with people, nothing full-time or staff member, but just, freelance. I reached a point of burnout around 2012, 13, and I just quit doing music. I don't know. I was discouraged or just kind of tired of what this routine that I had going, and I don't know, things didn't go the way I wanted, so I just quit playing for a little while. And, I just dedicated myself to my life, my wife that I was with, and family and friends. And like I say, we go every once in a while, karaoke, just to sing, just to have fun. I love to sing. 2015, I think, 2016 is when I met my guitarist friend. And he's like, we're putting this thing together, a project, and we'd like to have you come in. I was okay. So to put in perspective, I spent the first, let's say, 15 years of my music career just in the gospel music industry.
Right.
And really, I was cognizant to the mainstream music, but never performed it live.
Okay.
So here's another genre, here's another element in which I feel very confident with that I can get up on stage and we can do this. I did do some mainstream music in different events. Somebody would just throw in a Don't Stop Believin' or something that people want to sing along to. When I played with the band, I was like, oh, I don't know this song. It's like they did a lot of Southern rock songs. So I ended up learning a lot of Southern rock, and then your traditional classic rock, everything from Journey to Foreigner to, just a little bit of everything. And then some maybe 80s pop and some 90s, throw in a Garth Brooks song or Hootie and the Blowfish. And, we gravitated towards that. That was the stuff we liked to play and we got good responses from. And then when I started doing solo gigs in 22, I started throwing in a little more old school R&B. So I wanted to put some Stevie Wonder, some Bill Withers, maybe throw a Gap Band tune in there, something that's a little groovy. I got a Stevie Ray Vaughan song that I play almost every gig. It's a huge hit, real bluesy, jiving music people love. So I really do hit a lot around there. The learning curve for this was steep, but I just kept plugging up that hill as best I could, and I've just been cramming songs and cramming songs and cramming songs.
What do you mean the learning curve was steep?
So coming from the place where I was in gospel music, I never really learned 150 mainstream songs to play live.
Gotcha.
So I've got to sit down. I've got to learn the chord progressions. I've got to learn, I know 6 Tom Petty songs, but I've never played them before. And if I want to sprinkle these throughout a set list, I need to learn how to play this stuff. And I need to memorize the lyrics would help. So, I really...
There's another debate on musicians' iPads.
I keep an iPad with me. But like you illustrated with the band, I don't stare at it the whole time unless it's a new song. If it's a new song, I need to watch those chords. I put my chord chart down there. I don't want to get lost on it. But after so many gigs, I'm just playing it, just talking to the people, watching, singing to the people, and I don't even think about it. But I'm going to go back and see what's the first word on the second verse. Oh, got it. Back into the second verse.
Well, that's the thing with not to interrupt you what you're talking about, but with the iPads, look, man, they're not my songs.
Yeah.
For me as a guitar player, I've got the chords in there and I've got little cues. I've got like intro stuff that maybe I've forgot because I haven't played that song in 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I got the words in here. Like, if they were my songs and I was just touring and playing my songs all the time, but look, there's artists who go out and perform who do not play as many songs as cover artists do. Mm-hmm. You'd be hard pressed to go to a show and see an independent artist play 45 songs of their own.
Yeah, they're not playing 3-hour gigs like we do with 45 songs
the
whole time.
Regardless if you play some of the same songs, those same songs all the time, you pretty much got memorized. You're not really looking at the iPad. Right. You might pull it up for a little something if you forgot something, But I don't get the big debate on that,
Oh, it'd really throw these guys for a loop if they watched a dueling piano show with the people up here, and they got your iPad, because you're gonna get like 50 song requests, and some of them you probably haven't played in 12 months, and you might not even know one of them. So you're gonna pull up a chord chart and just take the melody that's in your head and go at it and play it, and you're gonna read the iPad. You're gonna sing you're gonna address the audience, and you're gonna entertain the audience and keep the audience engaged in what you're doing. But guess what? You're gonna have a tablet up there that's gonna be feeding you a lot of lines and chord charts, and it just comes with the atmosphere that you're in, and whatever works for you. And
I think most people are not caring. It's not to sound awful to us cover musicians. they're not there for you for the most part. People are coming to restaurants and brews. You're part of it. They might come there to see you because they know you and they like what you do, but they're probably coming with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
They're probably going to get food and drinks, and they're probably going to talk to their friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very rarely you might have somebody who's coming out just to see you, and they're going to pull a chair up and they're just going to sit there the whole time and eat their food and stare at you while they.
Yeah.
It's not what it's about.
Yeah.
You are there to provide the background music that they can enjoy and listen to and sing along with. They're not there to like stare at you on stage. Otherwise, we'd be playing at night theater.
Yeah.
And everybody would be, in their rows, in their seats and watching it. So,
well, we as musicians, I think, judge ourselves pretty tough. We might be the toughest judge of character on our own work, our own body of work that we do on stage. And like I'm the world's worst. Like I said, I pick apart everything that I do. And, most of the stuff that I pick apart it's just the nuances of how I want something to sound better than it did before. And I consider it a good developmental step to continue progressing and improving at what I do. And, but I can't take it too serious. Can't take yourself too seriously on stage.
No. Well, unfortunately for us musicians, something that happens on stage, we think lasts forever because we're in that moment. And it really, like most people are listening, you hit the wrong chord, they're not listening.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hitting the wrong chords consistently for the whole song and it's not right, if you make a mistake, most people don't even realize that you're like, oh man, that was just our fault. Oh, did you make a mistake? I didn't even hear anything. Yeah. Everything sounded great to me. Yeah. Bring us back though. What's your wheelhouse? You had gotten out of gospel and you started learning all these songs. Is there a certain time frame of music, like 90s, 80s, or are you digging deep?
It's pretty spread out across the decades because I'm going to do, I really was a heavy hitter on the 70s, 80s, and some 90s. And now I'm learning some more current 2000s and more modern hit songs. And that makes me chuckle because I think about the crowd that is that's kind of pushing me towards that. When I play some of these places, like we were talking about music in South End earlier, it's a young crowd out there, man.
Yeah.
It's, they know the old stuff because a younger crowd of 20 somethings out there and some 30, they scroll on TikTok and Instagram reels, and the soundtracks on these reels is some of them are classic rock hit songs. And they don't know, they didn't grow up in that era. They didn't know that song. Maybe they heard their parents playing it, but they hear that song, they're like, oh, I love that song. There's always trending sounds that people try to pick this sound. They want to trend. They want to go viral. There was a trending sound for an Earth, Wind and Fire song, Let's Groove Tonight. And it's the intro to the song with the, it's like a robotic voice type of thing. I can't remember what it is, but you go and listen to the intro to Let's Groove Tonight, and that sound was used in a lot of reels that went viral, got millions of views. And so a lot of people were gravitating towards that. And one time I was with around some younger people and I just played the song on a playlist, and they didn't know any of those stuff that I'd been playing. But when I played that song, they started moving their shoulders and dancing around because I know that one. I've heard that one. So they know the songs. They've heard some of the songs. They're not going to know, they might not know like a Foreigner tune or some, maybe a deep track on a Journey album. They're not going to recognize. But what I have learned is, depending on where you're at, depending on the atmosphere, depending on the state you're in, they might be more into country music, and you might go to another town and they're more into pop music. So they're going to perk their ears up at different songs that you play. So you want to keep it a wide variety of genres. But like I said, I have started incorporating a lot more newer tunes, and I've started beefing up my 90s songs here. This past week, I've probably learned a dozen 90s tunes that I knew them, but I've never played them, just because when I take a lot of requests in my show. And because I want, if I have a responsive audience, like, I was on the patio the other night playing, and these guys, everybody was fixated on what I was doing. And so I'm like, if you love that song, what did I say? I said something to the effect of, I got some great songs lined up for you guys tonight, but you know what? You guys have even better songs than I got in this set list. So let me know what you want to hear. And I just put it out there for them. I have a QR code on my sign. It's like a 12-inch square.
Sure.
Big QR code. You pull out your camera, scan that. You can send me your song request. You can even attach it to a Venmo if you like. You
go.
Just to get gears turned out there. And I'll have people that'll send me a Venmo. They'll, just a, $5 or $10 with nothing. But then I'll have a song request come in.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll look at the demographic that I'm playing to here, and I'll look at the song requests. And I've noticed, a lot of these younger kids, they grew up listening to 90s, kind of like we grew up listening to 70s and 80s. So you watch it change depending on where you go, depending on the demographic of your audience. And you can kind of gauge from there, especially if you're going to the same places all the time. Mm-hmm. You can kind of gauge, okay, I need to learn some more of this. And so I'll start hitting that up. And it's going to be different for everybody. I say that I've been adding a lot more 90s tunes to my repertoire, but there's someone that might be adding a whole lot of country to their repertoire than what I'll ever play.
Yeah. I'm kind of mixed. Mm. I sit in a little limbo because I learn a couple of new songs only because I think they might fit what I do. Like I do mostly a lot of classic rock up to like early 2000s, and that's kind of, that's it. But then I'm also like, I was out one night and I was playing at the Bulldog I told you about earlier. And I remember some young guy asked me to play Country Roads and I didn't know it at the time. He's like, how do you not know that? I'm like, I just don't, man. I know, another 100 songs. That's not in my, so I went out and I learned it. And of course it goes over really well, but I'm on the fence with that kind of learning lots of new songs because one, I don't have that much time.
Yeah.
Two, I'm playing to a new audience every night. Mm. So are they going to be demanding to know every, a whole bunch of new stuff? Two, the people who do come to see you play, they like the stuff that you do. So if you're not doing the stuff that you like, they like you to do. Yeah. Then you're adding new stuff. The only reason for me to learn new stuff is because I just want to mix it up. Yeah. I get tired of doing the same stuff. Right. Does that make sense?
Right. Exactly.
And you don't know, but adding new stuff, it's not my wheelhouse. How does that sound? New music.
Well, I've accepted a challenge for myself here. I've started this past year in dueling pianos, which is a blast.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, man.
It's a lot of fun, man.
Well, how did that come about?
And so I got into a conversation with my buddy Dave Haywood, and he's become a good friend this year.
Is Dave Haywood from Dave and Woody?
Yeah.
Like Sunday Fun Day, is that like Tropicana?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I recognize the name. I don't know him personally.
That's him. He's a cool guy. I've spoken to him on the phone. Well, I spoke to him years ago. I was actually on the phone with Jennifer Siebenaller about something else that I was working on with her, and he was with her, and started having a side conversation with him on the phone. But he's a great guy. He messaged me one day. He saw a video posted because I'm always posting content, sharing with folks that come hear me play. And he messaged me and said, hey, man, you got to come down to Charleston with me and play. And, most of the time when people ask me something or say something to me like that, I take it as a form of flattery, and I'm like, I appreciate it, man. That'd be cool. I'd love to do that sometime. And then I never really return to it. And because I'll have once a month, I'll get an invitation to join somebody's starting a project. Somebody wants you to jump in on. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool, man. I appreciate it, And then a couple weeks go by and he messaged me again. He's like, hey, so when you coming down here with me to Charleston? I was like, okay. Oh, okay. He's serious. He wants me to come. I'd love to. Let's do it. So we worked out the details on it. Well, I went back down there in June, and I have friends like Jennifer, who's in dueling pianos, Uptown Dueling here in Charlotte, and go out to see them occasionally if I'm free. Love the show, love the act, love the hits, the songs that are requested. So I go down there to Charleston. And it's one thing to watch the show. It's a whole other thing to be a part of it because there's a lot of moving parts that are going on. And we're talking about people, reading lyrics or chords on an iPad. You're using a lot of random access memory up here. There's a whole lot going on. Well, there's a whole nother, just say a whole nother dimension of things going on when you're on a dueling piano stage because you're taking requests, you're lining things up. For the next song, you have two For people who don't know,
Yeah.
dueling pianos, you'll have two pianists on stage. And some places might have a drum kit, or you might have a guitarist. It depends on where you're at. But you'll have two pianos, you have song requests come in. So one guy's playing it and the other person on the other piano is just looking at the requests. You got Venmo requests coming in on your phone. You got slips of paper up here. Just kind of lining them up. You want to do what you get the oldest one first, get them through, so people get to hear their songs. And so you're getting your next song ready. They're going to sing one, maybe two songs. They're going to volley back to you. And it's just a volley back and forth.
Between all the different musicians. I know this one. Let me jump in. I'll do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole lot of fun. And, I'm actually leaving, Wednesday to go down there and play this week. Looking forward to it because I'm going to be with Dave and with Jennifer, two of my favorite musicians in Charlotte. And, we're going to have a blast. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. That
do you get
motivates.
stumped?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Well, now it does happen. Now you've got 2 or 3 brains on stage that are playing, cause on the weekends I'll have 3 pianists, 1 off stage, 2 on stage, and you rotate cause it's a 4-hour show. So, you got a lot of music coming through. Occasionally you'll have all 3 brains stumped and they're like, we don't know this one. You have this tip gives you a credit. You can give us another, or, what other, something by the same artist. And
yeah, right. Can you give me something artist adjacent?
Yeah. They'll work it out. But yeah, you've got a lot of brains on stage that can, recall this stuff. Now that's very motivating for learning new material. So I've been looking at stuff that I know has come through and I know that they play. And you have a list of 100 top dueling piano songs that everybody's going to request a Piano Man, Wagon Wheel.
Levon.
Yeah, you're going to have the newer songs. You're going to have, some hip hop songs come in there they want you to play. It's anything goes and it's a blast.
Now, do you play the whole song or do you just play set portions of it?
Well, most of the time it's the whole song, but I've heard some guys do some pretty cool stuff with medleys and they'll do like verse and a chorus and jump into another song. It's in the same key, verse, chorus, maybe make it a 3-song medley. And yeah, people love that, man. They get out there because if it's all in the same genre. Yeah. It's about the same tempo and key. You can mash up some things together. So,
cause I've heard, there's a particular artist in town that I know. He's really good. When people make requests, he might not know the whole song. Right. And he'll be like, all right, I don't know the whole thing, but I know this, I know the verse and the chorus and that's it, and boom. I'm like, that's great. I was like, that's not what I would do. Cause and I don't mean that in a bad way to say it. It's just like, I'm different. Every artist is different, know? Right. Somebody came up to me last night and was like, hey, do you know some Metallica? And I was like, no. And I wasn't shutting it down. It's just like, no, I don't. Right. I don't really know Metallica. I'm playing, do you know like nothing else, man? I was like, no. And then I got up to stage and I was playing and he's like, all right, well, anything to rock out. So I rocked out, I did a song or two and then I realized, oh yeah, Turn the Page. Metallica did a cover. I was like, this is not exactly Metallica. Right. It's a cover they did and I did it. And the guy was like, oh, that was awesome. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. So if you can play something, that's close or approximate what they're looking for, I get people will be happy. I'll
give you 2 scenarios that happened to me, on the dueling piano stage. Cause I'll see a song and I'm like, I know that one. I saw one come through that I looked at it and it was, Burn Rubber on Me by the Gap Band.
Wow.
I was like,
I don't even know.
I know that song. Like I was shocked when I looked at it. I was like, I know that song. The other person's playing a song, pull my phone out, just hit play on that song, just listen to the intro, got it, know the key, start playing it. That's an easy one because it's the same chord progression. It's a loop of a chord progression. So there's no other modulations in there where you have to jump into something that's offbeat or change a tempo. It's just really, really easy. Went off great. People, the party was going, the dance floor was full. Everybody enjoyed it. I had another song come along that, I looked at, I was like, oh, I know that song. That's, Come On Eileen. It's a great song. Great song. So I'm going to play that one. So I looked at the chord chart. I got ready. I started playing it, got into the verse. And as I got into the verse, I wasn't thinking about this song is in 2 separate keys. The chorus is in a whole other key, or you could call it a relative key to the whatever you're playing the verse on. And then the bridge cuts tempo completely and starts off on a slow beat. Come on, Eileen. And you're like, oh crap, what have I done? Damn. So I think I did a verse, chorus. I did another verse. I did not even get to the bridge. I just hit the chorus and I got out of that thing as quick as I possibly could. But I saw the guy that requested it was sitting down front, and he looked at me and he gave me like a good, like an air clap. He enjoyed that song, and I was thinking, I think he was giving me a pity clap on that one.
That must be I was just thinking about it as we were talking about dueling pianos. I wonder if it is, like, I've never seen dueling guitars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I haven't. It must have been something that started with two pianists and it became a thing.
Yeah.
And the moniker stuck. And, originally it was like, we're dueling pianists. We could play this. And then all of a sudden, not everybody, but I mean, it became like this thing. It's like a name that fits and everybody can use.
Yeah. There is a history to this, and I don't know it verbatim. So the guys listening to this, don't chew me up for getting the wrong dates or information on it. But this goes back to early 1900s when you had these old saloons, and they would actually have two pianos in a saloon.
Yeah.
And, this actually happened. They would play tunes, and the patrons in the saloon would request a song, and they would play that, and they would go back and forth.
Oh, really?
That's how old of an art this would be.
Seriously.
Considered. And I don't know how that progressed over the decades, because I don't know when it became popularized like it is today. But, there's whole businesses that are built off of this model.
Sure.
Such as Howl at the Moon we used to have here in Charlotte. There's other piano bars, where I'll be in Charleston this week is John King, right on the corner of King Street and John Street in downtown Charleston. And, it's a great hang.
What time you start?
Yeah. It'll be nightly.
There you go. Go see him.
8:00, I think. But yeah, so you've got other businesses. You've got, Jennifer and Tim, they run Uptown Dueling, which is a road show. It's dueling pianos on the road. Mm-hmm. And shout out to those guys, because they're bringing the party wherever you want it, and they'll bring the equipment. They have, which is basically it's a digital keyboard that sits in a small shell that's shaped like a baby grand type piano, and they'll set it up, put the show on. They've got all the setup ready to go, and they do an outstanding job. But yeah, man, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun, and it really stokes the fire of learning music, new music.
Well, yeah, you have that. You got to kind of do it. Yeah. If you're doing dueling pianos, I think that's something you got to do. If you're kind of like insulated, like I am, which would be the word I would use. Yeah. I don't have to go out and learn tons of new sets of tunes, and I always feel like I said before, I have my things that I do, and I like doing them. I'll add some new stuff this year. That's kind of one of my goals, is to add a new set of music and just do something different. Yeah. For any other reason that I'm kind of like, okay, I'm good with this. Yeah. Let me do some stuff. Even if it's songs I used to do before in my duo with my buddy John, I'll do them and I'll sing them. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, him, there would be songs that he used to sing and be like, I need to add something else. Let me do this now. Right. Yeah. So man, what on the music scene has been your experience so far? Like you've done some band stuff, you're doing the dueling piano, you're doing solo. What's your experience getting out there and playing? Have you been, did you get to meet other musicians a lot, or are you kind of like in your own little world where you run in a certain circle?
I spend most of my time in my own little world, just playing my calendar dates. There are exceptions to that. I played Gibson Mill right over here in Concord. They had a full day of music, 2 days actually.
I've done it, yeah.
And I got to meet the guys, a couple people in there that were playing, and I love meeting other musicians. I love listening. Many times I will, if I have an open date that would typically be a gig night for me, many times I'll go out to try to listen to someone else play. Yeah. And I have a list this long of musicians, friends of mine, that I keep meaning to get around. I'd love to go hear their bands, depending on where they're at and what day it's on. But, yeah, so I've been networking a lot more this year, and this is something that I feel really passionate about. I feel like we as musicians we get caught up in our own circle, our own world of music, our calendar dates that we book. And maybe I don't know the best way to put it. We just got cut up in our stuff. We don't really connect with other people.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that we have to look for something that someone else is doing because, I need to go play music with this guy, or I need to, sometimes it's just about, gleaning from other people's acts, because there's people that do stuff that I've never even thought about doing. That there's songs that I've heard them do a rendition. I'm like, wow, that's really good, man. I'd love to adapt something like that in my show. And if I don't get to see them live and in person, I'll just network with them on social media and follow what they're doing.
Sure.
And I love to just listen to a few minutes of somebody's show and listen to maybe even watch their crowd interaction. What are you doing with your crowd interaction? What's some little catchy phrases or some gabs that you throw out there with the crowd, and how are they acting with that? I love, because there's always people doing stuff that we never learn it all. If you reach a point where you think you've learned it all, then you really shut yourself off to all your possibilities and potential going forward. But yeah, man, I spend a lot of time in my own circle, the gigs I play, but I have spent this year networking a lot more, and I've met some fantastic people, just super talented people in the music industry. And we support each other, even if it's just clicking a like button on their post, just push the algorithm, get it, because these algorithms, if they get more response, then they'll show it to more people.
Right.
And it helps out. You want to do all that you can to help other people. And I think that's how we as a music community should be with each other. And because a lot of people get into this, a lot of people get in the famine mentality, man, and just like, I don't want people to book the places where I'm playing because then I won't get to play there.
Yeah, I don't.
There's so many places to play. There's so much going on, and we should never get into that rut of there's not enough to go around. We should share what we're doing with other people. I've shared today. I've told you how I do my setup, my rig, my tracks, of course, some of my places. Booking breweries, how I react with the audience, how I do a song request, some of the banter that I have back and forth with the audience. Those are things that other people can say, oh, I like that. I'm going to try something like that.
I keep thinking, one of the things I want to do with the podcast I keep saying I'm going to do it, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm going to start doing some little round tables and get like 2 or 3 other people, just sit in and talk And we're going to just talk about the scene. We're going to talk about, what do you do in your setup? How do you say thank you more than, thanks a lot. I appreciate that after somebody applauds. What do you do? Yeah. How are you handling this? How are you handling that? 'Cause I think there's a lot of things we can learn from one another.
Absolutely.
Shout out to you talking about meeting other musicians. Shout out to Nicholas Rhodes, 'cause I met him when I played Gibson Mill Market, last year. And, call Nicholas a friend now. Great guy. I've had him on my podcast, had me on his podcast. Yeah. He started doing a community meetup. So I think Nicholas was trying to do it every month. I don't know what his schedule is like, but he'd contact 3 or 4 other musicians and invite them over to his house.
Oh yeah.
And everybody get together and just talk. I'm like, Nicholas, man, you might inspire me to start, just extending my circle out.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing, like you, I'm sure, and many other musicians in Charlotte and around the world, we're out playing on the weekends.
Right.
So you don't get time to go out and hear everybody. And sometimes when you do have a night off, the last thing you want to do is go sit in a bar.
Yeah. You just stay home.
I want to just Netflix and just chill for the night,
Yeah, exactly.
But it's, for me, the podcast is kind of my networking thing. Like, right. I had not met you before. Yeah. Last month, Big Greg was on, and I hadn't met him. So it's like I get to meet a whole bunch of great people in the community. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
My only thing is with the community, and I think I've talked to a lot of different people in different genres of music, but I find it's very compartmentalized. Like talking to Big Greg last month, I don't know a lot of the rappers in town. Yeah. I know a number of cover artists because that's the circle I run in. Mm-hmm. He probably knows a lot of the rappers because that's the circle he runs in. Right. Jazz musicians, couldn't tell you that many jazz musicians in town because I don't run in that circle.
Right.
Yeah. Troy Kahn, he was on the podcast. He runs in that circle, so he probably knows a lot of the people in that area.
Yeah.
That's the only problem I see with our musical community, which is probably the same as a lot of communities around the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's things to learn, things to gain from that. I think that you can look at what people are doing in other genres, and you can still glean from their experience, even if you glean from their business interactions, how they work with the venues, how they work with management. I'm sure there's a lot of ideas that you can gather from people who work on booking.
Sure.
There's, I don't know. I would imagine there are things about booking in the rap music industry that I would never think about in booking for playing cover songs like I do.
Right.
So I would listen to your podcast and listen to an interview with someone like that, and I would listen for things that, well, I guess just really get the gears turning up there to think about something that I've never really thought about before. So
yeah. I mean, at least something with rap, that's a different animal because they don't do cover.
Oh yeah,
cover shows. It's. Right. I think that would be kind of funny for an artist to get out there and be like, "Hey, man, we're doing a rap show this weekend, and it's going to be covers. I'm going to do this artist, and this person's going to cover some tunes from this art." I think that would be pretty cool, but it's not a thing in that artist community.
It's kind of like singer-songwriter. In our circles.
Yeah. So I'm curious, man, how are you navigating social media these days? What are you doing? How are you using social media?
Well, I always post as much as I can for the shows, and it really helps out when the venue does the same, although some places don't. But, you want to post up what you got going on. I've actually gotten away from this. I need to start back to doing Facebook events. There's something with when you create a Facebook event. So let's say you book a gig that's 3 months out. If you create an event on Facebook for it, it will show up on your news feed, people that follow you in the area, and they'll see the event. And this is exclusive to Facebook, but I mean, people will see where you're playing. Now, if you just get even a few of your friends who follow you and support you just to click on the interested button, Facebook will show that to other people, mutual friends, who it will say something like, John Smith is interested in this event.
Sure.
So there's a little bit of an organic reach that takes place right there when you do events, and people will see something that's going on. And I think it might even relate to the venues. They'll see something that's going on at a particular venue.
Right.
But posting a story, Facebook, Instagram, posting on your news feed so that it shows up when people scroll and they see something that you do. I've noticed that there is a completely different interaction between stories and newsfeed posts.
Oh yeah.
And there are people that will scroll through their feed that will not look at stories because you could tell. And you don't really have the metrics to see who looks at. You can only see likes on a feed post. But if you see people that like on your feed, you'll notice many times the same people do not show up because stories will show you who's looked at your stories.
Yeah.
So that right there is a gold mine. If you remember, okay, I need to not just post, I'm going to play here Friday night, post it on your story, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram as well.
Sure.
Any other platforms that you use? Those are the two main ones for me.
Not a TikTok user?
I used to post covers on there.
I never did. I don't even do TikTok, so.
I have the app. I occasionally scroll on it just to see what's going on in the world. TikTok is a whole different animal, man, because it revolves around trending songs because people put songs behind what you're looking at on the video. Yeah. You'll have very specific acts that people do on there, such as a trivia type of thing or dances, like pranks or, epic fail videos, people that fall off and get hurt. There's just all kinds of stuff out there. It really doesn't fit into the mold of what I'm doing, but I have posted, occasionally I'll take a clip of a video from one of my gigs. Maybe it's just a video clip from a live stream I did. And I think it sounded really good. I'll clip it like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, put it on TikTok. And people that follow on there can see it pop up. And
so do you do you primarily keep your social media pages for music stuff. Like for me, my Instagram is pretty much music.
Right.
Like that's it. I don't put my personal life up there. Facebook, I have my Matthew Ablin business page per se, my artist page, and I put my music stuff there. And then I have my personal page.
Right.
You know, funny enough, I get all the local musicians. They want to follow me as my friend on my personal page.
Yeah.
And, not on my music page.
Yeah.
Which I would prefer if they just followed my music page because, you know, I like to keep friend stuff between the people I actually really know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't want to know everybody else's business.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what
if
you
that doesn't sound awful.
So here's an interesting thing that happened to me. My Facebook, I originally jumped on there like 2009 or something and used it all personal. I mean, I put some music stuff on there, but it was like 80-90% personal.
Yeah.
Just, I'll share memes. I'll share, you know, if I went on a trip or take a selfie with friends and share it. And I still do that to this day. My Facebook got hacked like 2 years ago, and strangely enough, I met a surprising number of people that I mentioned this to, and they said that happened to me too. It was something.
Oh, it
where
happened to a lot of people. Yeah.
You lose access to it, and then your account gets suspended, and you get locked out of it. And I didn't have the 2-factor authentication set up on it. I do now, but there's no other way to log into it, and you're just SOL, man. You can't get back in. You can't access anything. It does give you the option to download all your photos and videos so that you have that in a file, and I put it into a Dropbox file, so I saved all my stuff, but I never got it back. So in 23, I had to reboot. I had to create a whole new page. And
wow.
When I did that, I made a decision to change my angle in which I'm networking and reaching out. So I friended all the people I know personally, friends that I follow, maybe old high school friends or whatever, family members, people in music. But then I did start reaching out and friending other people in the music industry. And now I use one Facebook account. 90% of it, if you go onto my profile, you'll see all the things that I posted on my wall are 90% related to music and gigs and video clips of where I'm doing and what I'm doing this. So it's kind of turned into a business page. The same thing with my Instagram. It's kind of turned into a business page. But I do post, 10, 15% maybe I'll post on there if I go on a trip or we have something coming up, and I'll share it. And I'll still get likes from people that I don't know personally because they follow the music and they enjoy my work. And so if they see that I had a really good vacation, they're like, oh, that looks great, and they'll like it. And that's cool with me. Everybody's different about that. It's a personal taste. I think there's no right or wrong answer to it, but whatever you feel like you want to use it for, I think it can be a really good tool that's advantageous to not just personal life and keeping up with friends, but if you want to use it for business too, why not?
Yeah, the only problem I have with Facebook with that is that like I cannot join certain communities as a musician.
Oh yeah.
Like my artist page, I cannot join certain communities. I can only join as my personal page, which I don't really care for very much.
Right.
There's certain music things that I've wanted to join. Like this does not accept artist pages. And I'm like, why? This is like what I do.
Yeah.
You
do have to have a business page. So it's different from a personal profile.
Yeah.
If you have a personal profile, I don't believe you can run sponsored ads on there. So if you want to promote something and target a zone, like a 20-mile radius, I'm gonna drop $20 in here and push this out so people see it. Like every time they open their phone, I want them to see I'm going to be here. But you can't do that with a personal profile. You can only do that with a business page, which is dedicated to your music. And the business account will allow you to do that. But I think that since they formed the whole Meta situation, there's certain ways that you can initialize a business format with a personal page. I'm not really clear on it. I'm not a marketing expert with this stuff, but I think there are ways around that you can promote.
I think it's also a money thing because now it's like, oh, are you verified? If you want to be paid $10 a month and we know you're a real person.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to pay any more money. I'm tired of this.
And Instagram's a whole different setup because it doesn't run the same format in terms of events. And I probably get a whole lot more interaction with stories when I post a
Yeah.
video or a still
And
photo.
reels.
Yeah, and reels, yeah. And it'll ask you if you post a video clip, it'll say you want to make this into a reel? Sure. You know, cause it'll come up in there's a whole other tab on the screen
Yep.
for people that want to scroll reels, and then they can see your content if you want to promote your stuff.
Yep. Big Greg was telling me about that last month. He was like, oh yeah, you get much more seen with this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that for me, but there's also like, there's another part of me that I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I'll post stories all the time,
Yeah.
all the time, every month or every day. I'm like, this is where I'm playing this week. And I make sure I follow up just to be good about, promotion,
Yeah.
you know, for restaurants and bars. But,
Right.
other than that, I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I do my part to promote myself per se.
Yeah.
Man, if we would look back, just start closing stuff out. But if we go back in time and you bump into Little Philip, how would Little Philip feel about your musical journey and where you're at now, as opposed to where he thought you might be?
That's such a great question, because I immediately think about when I was a kid, particularly in high school. They give you all these assessment type of things where you plan out your career, what you might be interested in as a career.
Right.
And I vividly remember filling out assessments where I put down I was computer techie type of kid. I wanted to major in some computer programming or some programming job, and minor in music, you know. Just, I wasn't a kid that wanted to hit the big stage and become an A-list celebrity. I
Sure.
didn't want anything like that, but music was a huge part of my life. So I had enough of a perspective as a teenager to say, well, you know, I want to major in a good trade, a good skill that I like doing, because I was really big into computer tech stuff as a kid. But I want music to be right there along with it simultaneously and run both things together. And if I look at my life today, it's exactly what I'm doing today, because my day job is, I manage a department for a manufacturing company.
Yeah.
And I do all the programming for those, the equipment in that department. So like CNC programming and robotic automation programming. So I'm doing that, and I got this huge thing going on right now with music that's going right along really, really well. So
That's awesome.
I have fulfilled, and I didn't plan it that way, which is the
Right.
cool part, because I didn't map this out to happen. I just got on this roller coaster and just let it take me wherever it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I've been through so many twists and turns in my music, my personal life. So many things have happened. But I think that if I met my younger self, I think that my younger self would be excited to see where I'm at now, just to get to this point. And it's even yet more exciting for me today now, because I know there's so much more that I can do. I want to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I want to keep growing, keep learning, keep playing gigs, meet more people, network, have new experiences and new venues, playing new songs. Just I see the possibilities as endless. So I'm really excited with what things are going on now. I think that, I mean, everybody would say if I could go back, if I knew then what I know now, I would go back and I would do this. But you know, I don't know if I would change anything, because the paradox to that is, if you knew back then what you know now, then you wouldn't have learned what you know now.
That's true.
Because that's how you know. You learn because you made
Absolutely.
errors, and you made, you had results, whether they be positive or negative.
Well, I just think as, you know, being a young person, you have a certain way of thinking that the music business is.
Yeah.
And once you as you start to grow and you're in it, you realize it's not exactly what you think it is. For
Right.
example, you might just think, if I shred on my instrument and I am the greatest player, that's going to mean I am going to become X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But talent does not necessarily mean success.
Right.
And that's a young person's thought process, I think, is just, it's this and only this, but it's not. Yeah. There are a lot of other things that go into it. Hey, Philip, as we start to close things out, how do we get in touch with Philip Funderburk and all the things that you do? How do we find out?
I'd say the easiest way is just to look at that name that's typed out and type it into your social media accounts. I don't have a formal .com. I use a Reverb Nation site for a lot of my music links. That comes in pretty handy. But I am working on revamping things a little bit this year. I think I'm going to have a new site that I'm going to use, a new web hosting service that I've been looking at. So I've got some things that I'm putting together, but yeah, just type it in, fill it with one L. There's some with one, there's some with two, and Funderburk, spelled just like it sounds.
No E at the end.
No E at the end. Yeah, just look at that name, type it in, find me. Let's hook up together. I love to hang out with some new faces, meet some new people out there, and have a blast.
Awesome. Well, Philip, it's been great getting to know you and talking with you.
Yeah.
I hope to get out and see you real soon, man.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for listening to episode 89 of the Queen City Music Podcast, and I hope you'll go back and check out past episodes. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends. Also, if you have an idea for an episode or would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our local partners, Records on the Wall at rexonthewall.com, Charlotte New Music at charlottenewmusic.org, and Blacker the Berry Lemonade at btblemonade.com. And if you would like to become a local partner, once again, touch base with me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Until next month, get out there and support the local Charlotte music scene by hearing some of the talented artists who call our city home.